morning, everyone. My name's Gavin. Welcome to the webinar. I'll be hosting a series of these regularly for the rest of the year on different topics to do with helping you win clients more efficiently, how to add value during every interaction, basically help you be able to scale your sales inside your business with less effort, and by thinking about sales from a different perspective. So it's 10:05. We'll get into it. If you have any questions, I'm monitoring the chat, the public chat, or there's a questions tab as well. Please submit your questions. And if I see them during the presentation, I'll read them out if they're relevant. Otherwise, at the end, we'll have a question section as well. Okay. So we talk about the agenda today. One of my core outcomes for you today is having a look at the sales truths or rules that we must account for in our business. And then we're also going to talk about the 5 things that we've got backwards in sales, and why a typical go-to-market strategy is not enough, then how to find your sales market fit strategy. And then finally, we're going to talk about maximizing your competitive advantage in the market you want to enter and in the tiers you want to enter inside of that. I'll also give you a takeaway based on finding your competitive advantage and understanding your market tiers as well. And then finally, we'll talk about how I can help if you need help in this space. And then we'll go from there with questions. Okay. Right. So we'll get into it here. All right. So who am I? My name's Gavin Tye. I'm the founder of Sales Market Fit. This company, or my mission, is to help B2B startups really see the truth behind what is fundamentally actually required to win clients consistently in a teachable framework. Now, this is really born out of my working for a B2B startup here in Australia called Redeye. I come into this company in 2015. Okay, let me just have a look at that. Let me have a look. You're currently sharing your screen. Just give me 1 second. I will see how. Is that better? Is that better, Surinder? Okay, awesome. You didn't want to see my face anyway. I get it. So this work was born out of me working for an Australian startup called Redeye, where we were competing against the monolith clients, Fortune 500 companies in America called Autodesk, ProjectWise, SAP. And we had a ticket price of somewhere between $20,000 a month to $45,000 per month, and we were chasing 5-year deals. So, and implementation costs were somewhere in the realm of $600,000 to $800,000. So, around $2.5 to $3.5 million deals was our ideal client that we were chasing. And what I learned is the typical sales processes and methodologies aren't enough without the right strategy. And granted, this was on the extreme side of total contract value, but this strategy that I learned holds true for every B2B business. Now, selling innovative tech is completely different to other industries, and I'll go into that a little bit later, and needed a different approach. And now, just quickly, if you think about people who come into the business, other salespeople are used to selling a product, except for B2B tech is actually selling an outcome. It requires a completely different mindset shift, and we have to frame everything differently from the beginning if you want to create a scalable business and be able to create a repeatable sales process. But one thing I discovered in my journey of 5 years in this company is everyone around the world, in our personal lives and in our professional lives, we follow the same process to buy something. And I'll get into that a little later as well. Now, once I discovered this and I was able to amend the strategy, I was able to reduce the length of sale that we had in our business upwards of 75%. And this is for a deal size of around $2 million. So it works in multiple different levels. Now, before we go further into the strategy, I want to address something called truths that we all know to exist in our lives. And this is a truth pyramid, And we're going to talk about this today. So most people try to implement a process in their world, particularly in sales, without accounting for the underlying behaviors, beliefs, and truths. Now, you see this all the time where people will go in and they will try to change a process, but they haven't fundamentally addressed the truths that underlie their thinking, which affects their beliefs and behaviors. Now, this doesn't succeed ultimately because it's built on a wrong foundation. And this leads to poor results. But if we align to the fundamental truths that exist, everything begins to fall into place. And that's what the goal of this webinar is to get you to look at these fundamental sales truths or rules that are largely being ignored across any go-to-market strategy or any sales process or most of the rhetoric that's out there. Now, what are these sales rules or truths that we must play by? And this is a key part of today. First and foremost is a sale is a consequence. So it's a lag indicator. And the lead indicator of that is someone must first decide to buy. Now, while I'm going through these sales truths, I want you to put your hat on as a buyer, not as a seller in this instance, because sales is a unique profession where every day we can sell, whether we're trying to sell an idea to our partners or whether we're buying something from someone, whether it could even be an idea. Now, many of you on this call will get people trying to pitch things to you in your business, and you're the buyer in this instance. So if you think about a sale in this instance, no one can sell you anything inside your business or in your personal lives until you decide to buy. It's a fundamental truth. So it does not make sense to try to sell. It makes sense to help someone get to a buying decision. Now, the other side, another truth is there is always two sides to a sale. There is us, the seller, and then the buyer. We need to consider that as well. And this is one of the most important aspects that we need to consider as a sales truth is people hate being sold to. We can no longer sell or go out and use high pressure sales tactics, which you see online all the time, people trying to do. People just disengage if we're trying to speak to them online this way. They just won't take a second meeting. So we cannot do this. And a sale is a journey, and it has three basic parts, just like a journey that you would take in your car. It has a beginning, them not knowing you, a destination of them wanting to buy you, and then the route that they must go on and the decision-making process that they need to follow in order to get to that purchasing decision. Now, in every sale, there must be demand before we can sell. So if you think about the first point here is someone deciding to buy, if you unpack that a little more, they must be demand. They must demand or want what you have before you can sell it. Now, another truth is for any sale to occur, value received must outweigh the cost. Now, this goes all the way down to buying a pair of jeans in a store. If you don't think those pair of jeans are worth $200, you are not going to buy those jeans for that price. It's only when the value, the perceived value, far outweighs the cost, then a sale will occur. In the tech space, we should be aiming for between 10 to 20x return on investment. And we want to make that sale a no-brainer for our clients. Now, we have moved from the information age. We can no longer just give our potential clients the information and hope that they will make the best decision. It's not enough anymore. We have to move to the influence age. We have to be able to influence their thinking. We have to be able to influence how they see the problem. We have to get them to see us as subject matter experts so they will let us lead them to better outcomes. And that simply does not happen by giving them information off the website or a takeaway brochure. We have to be able to engage in a meaningful way to add value to their lives and influence them. Now, 70% of the sales process can be completed before a buyer even speaks to you. If you're waiting for a client to engage with you on your website or reach out to you through an inbound lead, they are potentially 70% through that buying journey. And if they're 70% through the buying journey, then you have the very difficult task of trying to influence their thinking. Now, this is particularly challenging for new B2B tech companies that are approaching a problem in an innovative way, because the market sees the problem in a way that your competitors have defined, or the status quo of that problem. So if they're coming to you at that stage, you have a real limited ability to frame how you solve that problem in a unique way. And it's by taking a proactive approach, it's the cornerstone of success to influence buyer behavior and improve your sales outcomes. If you can proactively present the message, if you can proactively engage before they're 70% through that journey, you are far better off as a new company and will have far more success in winning clients in the long term. Now, what I want to do is there's 3 clients I'm going to run you through that I've worked with. I want to show you they're very, very, very different businesses. And I want to show you, just to give you an example of the problems that they were facing and then the outcomes they got by implementing this strategy that you can take away and start doing in your business today. So Fly Freely has been a client of mine for about 8 months. They're a B2B SaaS drone management operations platform for enterprise and small to medium enterprise. So they've taken the really complex process of managing an organizational drone fleet and actually reduce the complexity, improve productivity, and for multiple stakeholders and all that kind of jazz. So their challenges were their competitor, their major competitor that has market share, current market share, is almost 1/6 of their price, right? It's a big hurdle to get over. So they're a highly technical team, and they didn't appreciate the complexity of selling to B2B SaaS and enterprise clients. Now, they're technical co-founders. They didn't necessarily have a sales background. And they could not articulate their true value in the frame that their buyers needed to see. And therefore, they were competing on price. When I first met them, they were discounting upwards of 60 to 70% to get more in line with their competitor, although they had far more functionality. So deals weren't closing, and they were stalling after a demo. Now, a key indicator is if you do a lot of demos and deals don't move forward, then there's an indicator. That's a key indicator that you have the wrong strategy and you're approaching it a slightly different, the wrong way. Now, the outcomes for Fly Freely were they took control of their buying process. They were able to lead their clients through their journey. They began to clearly articulate the value in the way their clients needed to move forward with purchase. And that was our biggest competitor. Anyone's biggest competitor in a B2B startup world is indecision. It's not moving forward. And they were able to take indecision off the table in many instances. Now, just to give you some stats here, Fly Freely were able to double the revenue in 8 months and then increase their total contract value by 55% and reduce the sales cycle by 60%. Now, this is DockerBook. Now, DockerBook is a B2B SaaS platform that connects the construction supply chain from orders to dockets to invoices to eliminate paperwork and reduce disputes, enable on-time payment. So DockerBook had a few key clients in the industry, but other deals seemed to be stalling, particularly after that demo stage, as I mentioned before. Now, there was a lack of insight into their client's decision-making journey. So what would be happening is they would go, okay, great, let us go away and discuss and we'll come back to you. And then what was happening is no progress was being made after that. And there was an invisible curtain going on, not understanding what was going on in their business. And they felt like they didn't have control of the sales process. And again, the deals were stalling. So what the outcome was, they were able to clearly demonstrate domain expertise, which is really important. And I'm going to show you that later on in these slides as well. And DockerBook were able to create different ROI values to prove the value in the context that clients needed to see to move forward. They were able to reduce indecision as a deal blocker, and they've made their processes more efficient and reduced the sales cycle. So we're still working out the actual tangible outcomes of this, but it's been clear. We just need a few more clients to go through this to get a proper tangible outcome. So this is Antigen. This is one of the most exciting clients that I've been working with for a little while. So they're a B2B SaaS platform that empowers patients with chronic conditions to improve health outcomes. So their AI-based platform coaches users throughout the day with their fully interactive app, delivering its messages exactly when the user needs to hear them based on location, activity, vitals, and time of the day. So the challenges for Ali was her team knew that they were providing massive value. So basically, they're engaging with healthcare providers, healthcare insurance providers, and they knew they were providing massive value to that market. But because it's complex stakeholder management and really old processes in industry, it really blurred their value proposition. They couldn't quite articulate it. And because they were dealing with tier one clients, they were being forced into bespoke sales processes, and they didn't have control of sales. So it didn't allow them to add efficiency into winning clients over time. Now, because it's a disruptive model of care, it contributed to long sales cycles as well, because of the challenges improving on ROI. The more disruptive a platform is, it can be challenging to demonstrate the value proposition. So the outcomes for Anthrogen were they were able to build a repeatable framework to support the customer journey, and it brought confidence to the customer during their sales process. And they were able to clearly articulate their value in the way their clients needed to move forward to purchase. So they were able to frame the value in the frame of what the client needed to see, because not all clients see value the same way. What's valuable to one person may not be completely useless to somebody else. And again, addressing indecision, which is everyone's biggest competitor. Now, this is a text I got from her the other day. So she had a meeting with this key client, and the pilot is signed off in principle, and it's worth about $200,000 for her to be able to go through this. So it was really proud, and she's worked really hard on a few key parts of her strategy, and she was able to unlock one of the biggest healthcare providers here in Australia in a very short time by following this strategy. But the reason I bring up these three companies, Fly Freely, Docketbook, and Anthrogen, is they're completely different industries, completely different markets, completely different stakeholders. And they were able to implement this strategy each in their own business using their own subject matter expertise and get the right outcomes. So I'm confident that you guys will be able to adopt this in your business as well, and get the right outcomes for your business. So these are the 5 things we have backwards in sales. The first one is a sales team's role is to sell. Now, I've been in sales for many years, and I thought this was true. But if we go back to the fundamental sales truths or rules that we must live by, is people must decide to buy. So first, before it can sell. So a sales team's role is not to sell. It's actually to help someone get to a buying decision as quick as possible. And it's by presenting information in a key way to help them see value and move forward to a purchase. Now, the second one here is businesses that aren't hitting their revenue targets have a sales problem. And I can tell you that this is 100% not true. You have a demand problem. Now, the reason I say that is because anyone on this call today could take an order or 20 orders potentially for your product that you sell or service. It may translate to a delivery problem, but you don't actually have a sales problem. What you have is a demand problem. You don't have that demand. So if we can fix a demand, which is the lead indicator, we fix the lag indicator, which is sales. Now, businesses must go out and sell to hit the revenue targets. We need to go out and create demand. Now, I know this is different to conventional thinking, because demand has always, or if you look at most of the literature out there today, demand now sits with marketing. Marketing must create demand there, but that's actually not true to a certain degree. Everyone must create demand. Sales teams are on the ground. Founders are on the ground. They must be able to create demand in every interaction, demand to move forward in the process. We must help people move along in their journey to get to a sale. Sales is purely a numbers game. Now, if you have a bad strategy, it does not matter how good your numbers are, you will not hit your numbers. You will not hit your revenue goals. You may increase your numbers if you're closing at 4 or 5% and have to increase your numbers to hit your revenue goals, but it'd be far better off to change your strategy and implement the right strategy, get that nailed down, and then turn that into a numbers game, because you know what works. without doing the first part, addressing the strategy, it's the old adage, shit in, shit out. You're just going to get bad results. And the last one is if you build a great product, customers will automatically buy it. Now, this goes all the way back to product market fit. Once you find product market fit, it will customers will start buying. They'll start going through the floodgates, and everything will be okay. When we found product market fit at Redeye, we were like, we found it. We have a value proposition. People were so happy about what we were providing to the market. It was completely disruptive, but the clients weren't coming. And that's because we didn't align our sales efforts to the way our target markets needed to buy. We didn't have sales market fit. So there would be plenty of great B2B businesses out there that didn't figure this out and died before they found a way to consistently bring clients on. And that's my mission really, is to help you avoid that. So why are conventional strategies not enough? So all conventional strategies are missing something. And when I first started at Redeye, I followed the Miller-Hyman methodology. I did a SWOT analysis. I did a go-to-market strategy, and something was missing. And what they were doing is they didn't account for the sales truths that I addressed earlier. They focus on selling and not creating demand. And this is particularly challenging for new innovative businesses like B2B startups, because you are offering a different solution to what the market is used to seeing. So what you have to do is actually work harder in creating demand, work harder in demonstrating your unique value, and work harder in creating your unique competitive advantage. Now, let's look at a typical go-to-market strategy, for instance. Now, a comprehensive go-to-market strategy covers all these topics. Who's your target audience? What's your value proposition? What's your product positioning? What's your sales and distribution channels? These are all important. I'm not saying that they're not, but they are missing some critical things. And they're missing the focus on the customer, helping them get to that buying decision as quick as we can. How to influence the customer's thinking, how to cement yourself as a subject matter expert, how do you prove value along every step of the way? And if you can add value, prove value, then you're less inclined to have to discount at the end, because they can see a massive ROI, and you've built up on the law of reciprocity as well. Now, how to address indecision. And I'll talk about this a lot more today. Indecision or no decision is our biggest competitor, and that's what deals are stalling. So how do we address that first and get them moving to a solution? Now, the buyer's decision-making journey, not the buyer's journey, which is talked about a lot, but the buyer's decision-making journey. What are the stages that they need to go through in order to move forward to progress to a sale? And this is a repeatable process, as I mentioned before, and we'll go into that a little later as well. Now, also about creating tools. How do you create tools to help them get to that decision as quick as possible? If we can create tools based off your unique value and based off the industry problems, then we'll be able to reduce time in the sales cycle and accelerate sales indirectly, because we're taking out time in our clients' decision-making journey. We'll be able to take lessons from other clients and apply them to tomorrow's clients and get better and better and better over time. So this is why conventional strategies don't work. And I've created a bit of an illustration to show you. So when we think about the fundamental principle, is there's two sides in every sale. We've got the vendor, or ourselves, yourself, and the potential client. So what happens is if they see us as a vendor, and I find this every single time when you walk into a meeting, there's a stigma when it comes to anyone selling. Founders, it's not as bad with founders, but if you ever want to scale with a sales team later on, they're going to have this stigma that they need to overcome. So if we're looking at it, they're looking at it over two sides of a fence, us and them at the moment. Now, there is here is a lack of visibility of the internal processes that go on inside their business. Let's just say the vendor salesperson or the founder sparks interest with the client, and they're like, yes, okay, I want to move forward to purchase. But there's these internal processes that go on in order to get approval to buy something. And rightly so. A business's responsibility is to say no so they don't waste money until they can prove the value or the value is worthwhile. But because we don't have visibility into their internal processes, we can't create tools or workshops to actually get more efficient and lead them through that journey as quick as possible. And this is why deals fall or start floundering after the demo, because these internal processes are too hard to overcome. They can't equate the value. Now, what happens is the internal sales friction is greater than the demand of your product. And that's why no sale occurs, because the friction is higher than demand. So, and this gets worse as the deal price increases. So when I was talking about our sales cycle or our total contract value being a couple of $1 million or $25,000 a month, it's on the larger end of this. So the friction was really high and the demand was not quite so high in the beginning. We had to figure out a way to reverse that. So because of this way that the model was working, the consequence is companies aren't maximizing their competitive advantage, right? They don't differentiate themselves enough to stand out over the competition. This is particularly important if you're waiting for 70% through their buying journey when they come to you. It's very difficult to differentiate them. You have no ability to influence how they see their problems or how reduce their friction in their sale or increase demand. So that leads to stored deals, a lack of clients, lack of revenue. And when you do win clients, because it's slid so far right or the timeline is blown out, it definitely increases your cost of customer acquisition as well. Now and even when some strategies, Miller Hyman and the MEDIC principles or methodologies work about taking away that lack of visibility, understanding internal processes, but they still don't address the how do we influence those internal processes, or how do we influence their thinking, and how do we create tools? It's still missing that inside their business as well, inside those methodologies. So now let's look at what the right strategy would do. So before, when there's a lack of visibility, what we want to do is position yourselves or your business or your sales team, whoever you have, as a subject matter expert. And instead of being the vendor and the client looking at each other from opposite sides of the table, we want to approach the problem at the same way and lead them to better outcomes. Lead and understand that the sale is a journey. We know that they're starting from one point and we need to get them to the other, but we want to demonstrate a domain expertise to lead them to how to solve this problem in the most efficient way. So if we can look at this as a partnership approach, we remove that lack of visibility. And what we do is we know their journey, right? So we know the journey that they need to go on, their decision-making journey. So because we do that, we can develop tools and workshops and processes along the way to maximize our value, reduce our effort on our side, and create a repeatable framework to move clients quickly through their buying journey, taking time out of their process, defending against the competition, staying 2 steps ahead of the existing competitors in the market. And if we can do that, what we do here is we reduce the friction that they need to go through in their internal processes. Now, what they do here is we reduce the friction, but because we're maximizing our value, we're simultaneously increasing demand. We're increasing demand for your product, and we're creating a strong need for your solution inside their business. Now, remember, the fundamental principle here is there needs to be strong demand before we can sell, before a customer will buy and before you can sell. So we're simultaneously reducing the sales friction by increasing demand. That's when friction is less than demand, a sale is likely to occur. Now, the outcomes of this is it will position you and your business as a subject matter expertise, as a subject matter expert. You'll be able to influence their thinking. We know the journey that they need to go on, or the journey that they have to go on to buy you. We can't ignore it. They're going to do it with or without you. And you're far better off doing it with them because you can lead them to better outcomes far quicker and increase your chances of the sale. You'll maximize your value. People always talk about add value, always add value, always add value. But what does value mean? The truth is, value sits in the eye of the beholder. So we have to frame the value for the person receiving the value, what they find important. And there's 3 value drivers inside a business, which I'll get into in a minute. Now, if we do this, we'll increase demand. Demand happens in 3 stages. It happens firstly in interest. People are interested in what you may do. Next, they'll want what you have. And the next stage of that is they really need what you have because they can't live in their current process anymore. And that's a very deliberate stages and strategies to move them from one to another. As a result of this, you will win more clients. You'll increase revenue, you'll shorten your sales cycles over time, and you will build stronger relationships with your clients. In my experience, there are 2 very different ways a client can come through at the end of a sales process. One is they've been misled or have misunderstandings of the value you provide. And from the day of the contract signing to implementation, it is friction in the sales process, in the client interaction. And it costs way more money to deal with them than it does. Or from the other way is when a client signs a contract, comes on board and is so happy to get going because they know exactly the outcomes they're going to get. You've been transparent about your strengths and your weaknesses, and they are chomping at the bit to get started. There's far less friction, and it allows you to onboard them, turn them into champion clients as quick as you can, and move on to winning more clients. Now, I'll just pause there for a second. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? Or is this different to how you would think about a normal sales strategy? Hi, Marie. How are you? All right, I'll just check the questions, make sure there's no questions there. No, we'll keep moving. All right, so how do you find your sales market fit? So that's a really interesting question. So now we've addressed the truths and we've addressed the foundations of the right sales strategy. We can change the process. It's only that we've addressed the truths and we must account for them in everything that we do. We can finally change the process. Now, because a sale is a consequence of someone deciding to buy, how your clients get to a purchasing decision determines if a sale will occur or not. And again, remember the friction graph. We need to remove as much friction out of that process as we can. Otherwise, they'll just move on to other things. Now, we need to structure your sales efforts to help them along their journey as quick as possible. Now, you can do this by changing the funnel. And this is the sales market fit funnel. Now, if you think about what I spoke about before is the 3 stages of demand. Now, if we can create a really strong need for your platform in their business, then you won't have to sell anything. They will buy. You don't have to do that. And that's our ultimate goal. But first, what we actually do need to do is create a strong need for change. That's the biggest thing we need to do. Status quo or no decision comes from, they don't see the impetus to change. So we have to address that first and foremost. But what we do here is obviously lead generation. We need to do a lead generation. Then we move into a certain type of discovery call. We want to understand their root causes of their issues. And I'll go into that in a second. Then we want to, this is where most people can do a discovery call, obviously, and create some type of interest inside their business, right? That's not unique. Then what they'll do is they'll do a demo. Most businesses will do a product-based demo or only speak in a solution. And it does not go to creating a strong want for their product. And this is where the deal fizzles out. So in the right strategies, what we want to do is do an outcomes-based demo. We want to do an outcomes-based demo to talk about the current state in their business. Hey, Gavin, when we had the discovery call, you were talking about this issue in your business. It revolved around you doing a lot of manual effort. Now, with my platform, you'll see that it completely disappears. So we want to continually go back from their as is process to the to be. Or if you think about the fitness industry, when people show the outcomes of people going through a fitness transformation, they always show firstly the fat guy and then the skinny guy. So we want to continually go back and forward from, hey, in your model, you said this is the inefficiencies, but this is how we change it. We want to do an outcomes-based demo, continually going back and forward, and that's how we create a strong want for our audience inside the demo. Then next, this is where most people will go from, okay, let me give you a proposal and go from there. Now, if you have a high ticket price, that's even any ticket price for a B2B business, this is a mistake. This is where most people make a mistake. What I would suggest here is we know you are not ready to buy us. We know that. You have not been able to clearly articulate your current processes in your business so you can make an informed decision should you move forward or not. And I will help you with that. So what we want to do here is help them define their problem in their business. What is the actual impacts in your business that you want to change? And how do you know they're impactful, that they are causing you significant issues that you should actually move forward and solve them? So if we can do that and show them that, hey, you cannot sustain this way anymore. This is way too risky, costing us way too much money. It's way too much risk. Then we'll give them the impotence to move forward. All of a sudden, we've taken indecision off the table. Now, one of my clients, Mitchell, who's on the call today, he worked on an ROI calculator yesterday using his subject matter expertise because he's a technical founder. And as he was able to clearly articulate the direct impacts of a 10x return on his his monthly SaaS fees to potential clients. Now, that's only in the direct impacts. There's all these other indirect impacts that will blow that out even more to probably somewhere between 15 and 20x that we'll have to work on to really build out that ROI calculator. Now, once you can do that, the client, you'll feel it will shift. They will shift towards moving us to a solution, and they will often, in many cases, make the decision to buy you then and there. Then it's about scoping out or going, hey, based on your problems and what we've uncovered, I would recommend you implementing us like that and moving forward. Now, this, you may notice here, it says qualified opportunity, which is a lot later in the pipeline than most people talk about qualifying an opportunity. The reality is we actually qualify the opportunity back here by taking pricing off the table early. What this is we're qualifying that sometimes when you go through this and it's a bigger ticket price, it can sit with a business for a little while before they get approval for funding and they can structure it to move forward, create a team around being able to implement your solution or go forward in their buying journey. So sometimes it can sit here in 1, 2, or 3 months. They've given the indication that they're going to move forward, but we just don't have the timing down pat yet. And then we do the formal pricing at the end and so forward, moving forward. Now, this is numerous clients have implemented this strategy, and every single market and every single business goes through a version of this buying journey inside their organization. Now, anyone on this call that is a CEO or a founder or who have worked for a business, ask yourself, did you go and if you bought anything of significance or anything inside the businesses that you're in, did you go through a version of this journey, whether it be formal or informal? Because this is exactly how we buy houses, we buy cars, we do buy multi-million-dollar pieces of software. Everyone goes through a version of this, where traditionally most people will create a funnel to predict when revenue will close or for forecasting purposes for their board or for investors. This is about forecasting the effort we needed to close clients consistently on a repeatable process and add to the framework to get better and better and better and better over time. Now, if you know their journey, you can maximize the value you offer at each stage to build stronger relationships. You will trigger the law of reciprocity. People will feel indebted to come back to you once they have their due diligence of going to do a market scan. particularly if you can prepare them for what other companies may have and what they're doing as well. We want them to come back. Triggering the law of reciprocity is probably one of the biggest competitive advantages that you can invoke if you do this the right way and you demonstrate the domain expertise. You can create tools to be more efficient and maximize your competitive advantage at every stage of their journey as well. Now, remember, people must equate value to the purchase. So we must help them measure their current process. Now, every sale or every opportunity needs movement. If there's no movement, there's no deal. And what I mean by movement is a move away from their current state and moving towards a solution. If there is no movement, which is the status quo, indecision, there is absolutely there's no deal. So, and there's also, this is another topic for another day, but sometimes if you're not prepared and helping them through their journey, you can create the movement and they move straight past you to a competitor. This is why we need to lead them through the journey. If you think about a big competitor, like having a gravitational field, what we want to do is stop them from being drawn into the competitors of your industry because they have bigger reputations, bigger case studies. So we want to lead them through that and stop that from happening. And this, going back to the sales truth, is being proactive. This only works if you're proactive. Now, one of the biggest challenges for B2B startups is they only speak in solutions. And that is completely understandable because you work in a solution every day. And you've started a business because you know the problem so well, and you've been designing the solution and you know that how to fix it. Now, remember that there's two sides in every sale. Not everyone who you're engaging with understands the complexity of the problems you solve. Like, there is the direct surface level impacts that most people know, but your intuition or your intuitive understanding of the problem, they would not have. They do not understand the indirect and the real impacts of the problems that you solve. Now, if you think about it like this, if you were only to speak about reconditioning this car or working on this car, people cannot see the real value until you actually show them their current process. You could not tell the red car on the right went through a massive transformation until you actually articulated how bad it was before they started this. And then you're like, wow, whoever did this is really talented. Without that, you have no idea. So what I would say to you is talk about articulating that current process first to cause that movement, to get them to move towards your solution. Now, where do you start? Now, first, you must recognize the real value you provide your clients. Now, this must be in relation to revenue generating, cost reduction, or risk reduction. These are the three drivers for a client to make a purchasing decision of something. Now, it's actually revenue generating is by far the biggest driver. Then it's cost reduction, and risk reduction is third by a reasonable distance. So if you're a risk reduction platform or a risk reduction business, you have to find a way to incorporate one of the other two into the ROI. Because even if you ask yourself, if you have a board and you go and report to your board every month or whenever you do, the first question they ask is, how much revenue did you generate in the last quarter or last period? Next is, what are your operational costs? And then third is the risk reduction. So if you can frame your value in the terms of helping them generate revenue, you will go a long way in actually moving a client to make a purchasing decision. Now, the next is we must educate by identifying and visually articulating the root cause of the issues in the industry that you solve. Most people only talk about the symptom, but the real cause of the issues are root causes like manual effort, duplicated processes, administration effort, no single source of truth, wasted time. They're the real root causes of all to the solution that your platform provides. The next is articulate the outcomes you provide in a simple visual way. Now, if you think about when I visualized before the current industry problem, two sides of every sale, lack of visibility. I tried to visually articulate the root cause of those issues. Then I articulated the outcomes by providing it in a really simple way. Now, next is to demonstrate the outcomes you provide in an outcomes focused demonstration, which I spoke about before. Like, remember, the root cause of those problems we spoke about was all this manual effort or no lack of visibility about making up real-time decisions. Well, in our platform, you can do this in real time. You don't need to integrate. It's all included. It's a single source of truth, all that kind of stuff, going backwards and forwards and showing the real outcomes that they get. So next is quantitate. Quantitate the impacts of the current processes to address indecision, and then approve a substantial ROI with the above value drivers. Now, what I mean by above value drivers is, revenue generating, a quantitative ROI calculator to show an ROI of somewhere between 10 and 20x. Now, if you can generate this ROI calculator, it also gives you the confidence to ask for the price that you want because you can prove it. Now, the next is risk reduction. Now, create a quality business process matrix based off a standard risk calculator that you can look up online and create a risk ROI calculator to show that there's a reduction of risk. Now, in all the risk reduction calculators that I've created and helped people create, the standard risk reduction for a B2B SaaS platform or B2B technology platform is about 75 to 85% reduction of risk, right? But people don't necessarily see that. They won't see it. It's only using your subject matter expertise will help them see that and make a justified decision to move forward. We cannot stay in this state any longer. It's too risky, but look at the outcomes we get from day one from going go live with the platform. Now, this is how I want to talk about the second last section here is talking about maximizing your competitive advantage. Now, every market is different, and so are the drivers, and we need to account for all these conditions that exist inside a market that we want to enter. So every market has different tiers, and so does every business. So a big business like a Rio Tinto, a large organization might be considered a tier 1, but a small department might be considered your tier 3. So tier 1 is the largest part of the market. Marie, between 10 and 20%. We want to aim between that. So it's easy to get to the direct cost of near 10%, but it's about those indirect impacts that we can actually, is where you really get the growth of the ROI. Now, so looking at the competitive advantage, maximizing competitive advantage, I'll actually go, before I go any further in these points, is if we look at from tier 3 being 10 to 20x, Mitchell, 10 to 20x, 10 to 20 times. So if we look at the tier 3 in a market to tier 2 and tier 1, as you transcend through the market, the buying complexity changes. And that's why you see on pricing tiers on websites, you've got your individual, business, enterprise, inquire, because this is how the market evolves. Now, as you transcend through the tiers, you would expect revenue to increase, the time to win a deal to increase, the outcomes they want to increase, and the functionality that they expect to increase as well. Now, subsequently, as you go through the markets, what you would expect to decrease would be the total addressable market and the competitors, right? So it's about understanding where your competitive advantage fits inside that market. Now, as you move through their market, the buying complexity increases. I've just covered all this, so I should have just kept going through the dot points. But if we go through and ask yourself where your competitive advantage is, you must create an unfair advantage where possible, and don't compete head on with your biggest competitors. Now, if you can learn a lot of lessons from sales when it comes to things like war and stuff like that, It does not make sense to go head on and fight an enemy when they are way bigger than you. You know, the movie 300, the Spartans created an unfair playing field, and they leveled the playing field against the big, I think it was the Persian army. And we want to try to do that where we can. So ask yourself, where do you have a competitive advantage over others? And then, are you engaging at the right tier? One of the key lessons that I learned when I was working for Red Eye was we were engaging in tier 2, tier 1 market, but our functionality didn't support that in the early stages. So we bypassed these clients, and it was a long time before we generated substantial revenue. And it subsequently allowed a competitor to catch up and eventually overtake us and get acquired by Autodesk. So are the drivers in the market tiers that you can capitalize on? So is there a wave of change that you could position yourself in? And it requires some investigating. And entering at the right point can increase your chances of success. Now, one of the biggest dangers here is maybe your competitive advantage is in lower tier 3 in the beginning, but you're engaging with the market higher up and you don't have a competitive advantage. But it's about how do you create that and being conscious of it. So what I've done here is I've got a file in a handout. I'm actually just going to turn that on there. There's actually a download that you can take, which is understanding your market tiers. And that will help you go through the tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1 of your market. And you can ask you some questions and go through and start investigating those markets in a systematic way and start investigating to see if you have a competitive advantage you may not be aware of as well. So you can go out today and take that strategy, take that funnel and put that into your business and start working that through and start becoming aware of the client journey and client decision-making journey and start framing your efforts accordingly. And I completely recommend that you do that. Now, if you need some help on that in that process as well, I've developed a coaching program to help B2B businesses in this space, actually. And I've been working with a key clients over a number of years, and particularly with a key group of founders. Some of them are on this call today that have actually got massive outcomes and massive benefit from doing this program. So it's the goal of the program is to help you every step of the way along the client journey and be an advocate for the clients that you're working with and helping you frame your message in the terms of the value that they need to move forward. Now, we'll work together to develop your framework that focuses on helping you get to your clients to a buying decision as quick as we can, and getting that tacit knowledge out of your head and being prepared, if you're a founder, to start transitioning from founder-led sales into hiring a sales team and taking that knowledge and actually applying it, giving it to them so they can apply it in their world. Now, if you're not a founder, it's about working with your founder to get that knowledge out of them so you can actually work as a team and moving forward as well. Now, you'll be part of a community where other founders are sharing lessons learned, wins, and key milestones of their business. Now, a sale can be, depending on what you're selling, it can be a long time. And there's only a finite number of lessons to learn in the sales process that I've discovered in my journey. But sometimes other founders learn key lessons that you may not necessarily get to for 12 months or 18 months. And it's about sharing those lessons and learning it from each other that will help you round out your framework over time and I guess shortcut some of the lessons that you more likely would need to go through. Now, at the conclusion, you'll have developed a sales playbook that will help provide you with an exponential ROI as well. And you'll be able to add to that as the business evolves and as you add more people into it and you get more, ROI knowledge, case studies, things like that, you'll be able to add to it and get more efficient over time and be able to reduce that sales cycle significantly. So I'm not taking on many clients. One of my things here is I really want to make sure I offer a great service to who I work with. So if this is something that you want to explore in your business, feel free to book in a call. I've actually, what I'll do is I'll turn this on as well, and you can book in a call with me. And that, I think that's been put in the chat now. It's to learn more about the program and see if it's a fit. But I'll send out some information after that as well. So that's all about the strategy that I had today. Now I have some questions. I've got time for questions. So if anyone has any questions, just put them in the chat or in the question. We'll put them in the chat, so we'll I can answer that. And yeah, please let me know if you have any questions. No worries, Leon. No worries, Richard. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, thank you very much for coming along. Oh, sorry, can you chat now? Sarah, yeah, I can chat now. Are there a few things that come to mind as key enablers or points of difference in lead generation part of the funnel? Yeah, Kevin, yes, there are about 20 different lead generation tactics that you can employ in any B2B business. So basically, it depends on how your target market wants to receive information. You know, are they on LinkedIn or are they somewhere else, for instance? Then how do you deliver a message that's authentic? You know, with the invent of ChatGPT now, people are cutting, doing cold email outreach in an inauthentic way. It's about framing the message, and I think it's about, first and foremost, demonstrating your domain expertise. Now, if you're a founder, Kevin, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you are, but how do you demonstrate your domain expertise? How do you lead with your trump card to get someone to engage with you? And that's what it's about trial and error as well. I think the main thing there is leading with a trump card to offer value, whether it's doing something like this to offer value about how to help their business, or how do you stay in contact in an authentic way, in an authentic way. But in my program, the lead generation part of it is actually the 5th module. What we want to do is get our messaging right, get the framing right, the real value we offer right first, and then do the lead gen, because we want to point them. We want to have the consistent message the whole way through the experience. And if you do the lead gen first, you could be pointing them in the wrong way, if that makes sense. But I think it's about adding value first. There's no point in doing what everyone else is doing, trying to jump on a call, if you haven't cemented your subject matter expertise. I think, why would someone want to engage with you in the first instance? Yes, Sarah, yes, you can. I will send you a message after this. All right, everyone. Yeah, it's without actually understanding what you're doing there, Kevin, I can't actually give you any suggestion, but I do know it's difficult, right? There are, with lead gen particularly, there are short, medium, and long-term strategies. Cold email outreach is only a short-term strategy. It should not be a long-term strategy or medium-term strategy, but you definitely need to do some kind of outreach while you setting up while your medium-term strategy, giving that time to kick in. So I can actually, if you want to set up a time, happy to have a call about what you're doing there, Kevin, and then we can go from there. But yeah, the main thing is consistent effort over time, right? That's the only thing that's really going to solve that issue. Thanks, Marie. All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much for today. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.